Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Yunxiao sneered from a distance and said, "Stop wailing. Lying under my profound level weapon and wailing. This scene is really wretched." Everyone's head was spinning, but looking at the appearance of those two profound armaments, they really did seem a little interesting. However, they quickly came to their senses. This was not something interesting. The thing that was screaming in pain was an 8th grade netherworld warship. Their eyeballs were all smashed to pieces. A warship of such an existence was actually wailing? What was that jade tablet that was pressing down on him? The Divine Realm tablet pressed the netherworld battleship into the black hole and disappeared before everyone's eyes. On the Golden Sun warship, the white-robed man was completely stunned, and beads of cold sweat rolled down his forehead. It was an 8th-tier warship of immeasurable value, with more than 30 alchemists on it. If it was lost, he would never be able to return to the sect. The sect master had to save himself the trouble of tearing him apart. An expert at the peak of the martial emperor realm on the warship also had a bad feeling. He said worriedly, "Sir Xianbing, if the netherworld battleship is damaged, we won't be able to report back." Boom. A roar came from the black hole, followed by the shaking of the ground and the sound of battleships shattering. From time to time, there were screams of humans. The white-robed man, Xianbing's heart also shattered as he felt the world spin around him. He was really done for this time. Although the black hole was too deep to see, he could already guess the situation inside. His eyes turned red and he shouted with all his strength, "Bastard! Animals! I'm going to kill you all." He had thought that it would be a wonderful job, and he had specially dispatched the Netherworld warship and the Golden Sun warship from his sect to look majestic. But who knew that they would be destroyed by a group of inexplicable people as soon as they arrived in the demon land, and most of the alchemists were probably dead. Unless he completed the mission with an outstanding performance, he would be dead if he went back. "Lord Xianbing, that jade steel can suppress the netherworld battleship, so it's very likely a 9th grade being. If we can get it, it will be enough to atone for the damage to the netherworld warship and the death of many alchemists." The man at the peak of the martial emperor realm said. "Not bad." Xianbing's sorrowful expression quickly disappeared and was replaced by a look of anger. And that ancient bell must also be a 9th-tier profound armament. Who were these people? He actually has more than one 9th-tier profound armament. It doesn't matter. Since we've already met, I'll kill them all. His eyes flashed with a sharp killing intent as he shouted, "Two battleships, keep firing. Let's see how long they can hold on. All of you, go down and kill all those trash." As for the two revered martial artists, Lao Ai, he said with a murderous aura, frowning as he thought for a moment, then angrily said, "I'm not going to let you go. I'll try my best to delay." Originally, two-star martial supremes were not his cup of wine. However, the other party's martial technique could actually condense the laws of heaven and earth. Even he did not dare to take it head-on. Xianbing was starting to regret his decision. He had come here with an awe-inspiring presence, but the two strongest 2-star martial venerables were just pushovers. He had 3 powerful battleships, so it was a piece of cake to take them down. In the end, he failed to kill a single person, but his netherworld warship and more than 30 alchemists were all killed. Now that the 2 martial supremes were being suppressed, the only advantage they had was the number of martial emperors and the 2 7th-grade Golden Sun warships. "Lord Xianbing, look!" A martial emperor powerhouse suddenly exclaimed with great shock. A beam of light shot out of the black hole. It was the Divine Realm tablet. Under the control of Yunxiao's incantation seal, it turned into a small mountain again and pressed down on the 2 Golden Sun warships. Although the battleships were powerful, the Divine Realm tablet that possessed the breathing earth was truly the nemesis of these battleships. What warship could withstand the infinite gravity? Although he could escape quickly, he would be completely restrained in a battle. "Kid, let's have a duel if you have the ability. Don't you dare hurt my battleship." Xianbing watched helplessly as the Divine Realm tablet fell on another battleship. Under the control of the person inside, the battleship hurriedly turned around and tried to escape, but it was too slow to start. As soon as it started, it was pressed by the Divine Realm tablet and fell to the ground. Boom! The Golden Sun battleship crashed into the ground, sending dirt into the air and creating another giant crater. The soil quickly dispersed, and what was reflected in everyone's eyes was that the entire warship had been broken in the middle, completely scrapped. Pfft. Xianbing spat out a mouthful of blood and stared at the Divine Realm tablet in the black pit with hatred. The Divine Monument was still fine. The light was moving, as if it was very happy, as if it was provoking him. There's still one ship left, rise. Yunxiao performed an incantation gesture and sneered. The Divine Realm tablet flew up again, growing larger and larger. Xianbing's eyes almost popped out of their sockets as he shouted with blood in his mouth, run. Quickly run. Quickly get away from this profound level weapon. He gathered all the chi in his body into the tip of his fist and punched out, roaring, four-way explosion, go to hell. He didn't dare to stay any longer. His heart was completely broken. If this last battleship was destroyed, then there was no need to complete the mission. He could directly escape from the western region now to avoid being hunted down by the sects. The Divine Realm tablet was hit by the force and was thrown dozens of meters away. The last Golden Sun battleship started to move. It turned into a beam of light and streaked across the sky, disappearing before everyone's eyes. The whole process was witnessed by the people of the Hall of Holy Fire, and they were all petrified, as if they had never known Yunxiao. Yunxiao made a hand seal and put the Divine Realm tablet back into his glabella. He walked to the Golden Sun battleship and collected the destroyed one. If no one else had done all this, he would have jumped into the deep pit. The Netherworld battleship was even more precious. Even if it had turned into scrap metal, it was still an 8th-tier material. Soon, Yunxiao came out of the black pit with a few alchemists who were still alive and threw them aside. There were 7 of them in total. Tell me, what sect are you from, and what are you doing in the demon land? Yunxiao asked in a simple way. The alchemists were silent for a while, and one of them said, we were hired by the Flying Frost sect, but we are not from the Flying Frost sect. As for why he came to the demon land, we don't know. He's only in charge of following Xianbing's orders and driving the Netherworld battleship. After he finished, he asked nervously, you won't kill us, will you? Yunxiao's eyes darkened as he frowned and said, so it's the Flying Frost sect, I've heard of it. I think the sect master's name is Shuangfei or something, and I have the impression that he's also a 9 heavens martial sovereign. Not bad. Sect leader Yan Shuangfei was a martial sovereign of the 9 heavens. The Flying Frost sect was considered a first-class sect in the entire western region. Other than the Soul Devourer clan and the Myriad Stars Valley, there were really not many forces that dared to provoke them. We were only hired, so please don't drag us into the grudges between you guys. The alchemist answered everything he knew, his face showing a strong sense of nostalgia for life. You want to live? When you mobilized the Netherworld battleship to attack us, did you ever think that we didn't want to die? Turpat was furious, he gritted his teeth and said, since you've been hired by the Flying Frost sect and received benefits from them, it's only natural that you'll die for them. Everyone in the Temple of Holy Fire was burning with anger. They had fought for no reason, and each of them had almost lost their lives. If it had not been for Yunxiao's sudden appearance, they would still be in the middle of the chaotic battle with incalculable casualties. What made them want to kill him the most was that Yifan was in danger several times, almost dying. But even though they were angry, no one from the Temple of Holy Fire moved. Because they had made no contribution at all, they were Yunxiao's captives, and they had no right to punish them. With an indifferent look on his face, Yunxiao said, you guys can leave. This demon land has always been dangerous, and now it's even more dangerous. Whether you can leave this place or not will depend on your luck. You're really willing to let us go? The alchemists were overjoyed, and they could not believe it. Everyone in the Hall of Holy Fire was stunned. Tao Ken couldn't take it anymore, he wanted to say something but was stopped by Yifan, he shook his head. He also knew very well that the prisoners of war were Yunxiao's, and they had no right to dispose of them. Besides, Yunxiao was an alchemist, so it was normal for him to spare their lives. After confirming that their lives were safe, all of them were overjoyed and ran away after expressing their gratitude. Although they weren't very strong, they still had a lot of good stuff. There was even a Tiger King chariot. The 7 of them squeezed into the chariot and quickly disappeared into the distance. Yunxiao glanced at the crowd and said, "Let's continue. Things are getting more and more interesting. It seems that everyone knows about Noah's ship." Yi Fan's expression was extremely ugly. He said worriedly, "It was supposed to be extremely confidential, but I don't know what went wrong. We can only take one step at a time now. There is no such thing as an impervious wall in this world," Yunxiao said with a smile. This wasn't the first time news of Noah's ship had spread. It had appeared many times before, but it was all proven to be false in the end. Therefore, gossip like this wasn't particularly popular nowadays. It's also fortunate that the ones who came were all small fries, otherwise we wouldn't have had the slightest chance. Yi Fan nodded his head in agreement. To obtain such a treasure, other than strength, luck was also important. In terms of strength, their temple of holy fire was indeed very weak, but in terms of luck, he was the only one in the world who could open Noah's ship. This was the biggest opportunity. With the exception of Yunxiao, everyone from the Hall of Holy Fire had a grave expression on their faces, no longer as relaxed as before. They continued flying toward Yi Fan's perception. Yunxiao's status in everyone's hearts had also risen to a very high level, especially the 2 martial emperors he had saved. They were extremely grateful to him. After flying for the time it took to finish a cup of tea, Yunxiao suddenly felt a strange feeling in front of him. Many violent auras were scattered in the air, and he caught them with his keen senses. The space in front of him fluctuated slightly, giving people a feeling of being in a trance. Soon, everyone in the Hall of Holy Fire also noticed that something was wrong. Squeak! A large number of tiny mouse squeaks rang out in all directions. They were the 5-element spirit-devouring rats he had encountered before. He spread out his divine sense and found thousands of spirit rats running in their direction. Could it be another rat tide? Yunxiao was surprised, but he did not panic. No matter how many of these rats there were, they couldn't cause any substantial damage to them. He quickly realized that this was very different from the rat tide he had encountered last time. Although there were more rats last time, they were all uniform and had a target. This time, it was indeed a mess, and many of them were tearing at each other in the process of spraying. The vastness of the demon plains was incalculable. There were a large number of various demonic beasts above, and they had encountered many on the way. So even when they saw such a large-scale rat tide, and the level of the spirit rats was not high, they did not pay attention to it. They only felt a little disgusted. Are these the 5-element spirit-engulfing rats that exist the most in the demon plains? A strange look flashed in the jar's eyes as he said, "Are they running for their lives? It looks very chaotic. Is there a situation ahead?" Everyone was moving very quickly. Soon, they could see a large number of rats appearing on the horizon, running wildly in their direction. Their chaotic squeaking revealed all kinds of manic intent. Yunxiao said, "Not too many, it's a normal escape. There should be a higher-level demonic beast chasing after them." There were also some stone flower foxes mixed in with the rat tide, and they were also tier 3 existences. The group ignored him and continued to fly forward. There were more and more demonic beasts on the way, but they were all running behind them. They were all running at full speed, and their levels were getting higher and higher. Blood Centipede, Grade 4. Shadow Spirit Ferret, Grade 5. Later on, there were even a few 6th-order demon beasts that were also fleeing. What's going on in front? Turpot revealed a shocked expression and slowed down. It stared at the scattered demonic beasts below and said a rank 6 rainbow flame leopard is actually running away. That's equivalent to a human martial arts grandmaster. Moreover, it's very difficult to subdue non-martial royal realm experts. Yunxiao's expression also turned serious as he said, "It's fine if it's only here, but I'm afraid that there will be higher-level existences later." Yi Fan was shocked, "What? I heard that there are even level 8 beasts in the demon plane, could it be in front? As expected, the worst situation had appeared. He began to see 7th Order Shatterer beasts running for their lives in the scattered horde. At this moment, everyone stopped and looked ahead in fear, but they could not sense anything. If there really was an 8th rank demonic beast in front of them, they would all be annihilated if they went up. A powerful aura of death appeared in front of them. In the distance, they could see an unusually tall demonic beast appearing on the horizon. Its aura was very strange. Although it was so far away, the feeling coming from the small black dot was enough to shake people's hearts and souls. It really is an 8th Order monster beast. Is it a 9-winged spirit snakebird or a soul-breaking type Kuin? Feng Zhu cried out in horror. There were only 2 types of 8th rank demonic beasts in the demon plains, but they could not contend with either of them. Yunxiao's expression turned very strange as he said carefully, "It's a soul-breaking type Gu, but it's a woo-woo, so strange." Yi Fan asked, "What's wrong?" "Young Master Yun, what's wrong?" Yunxiao frowned with a puzzled look on his face as he said slowly, "That soul-splitting Kuin seems to be dead." "He's dead." Everyone was shocked, and Tranche said in horror, "How can he still have such a powerful aura even after he's dead?" Yunxiao kept his eyes fixed on the front and said, "He should have died not long ago, so his aura has not completely dissipated." "So he's dead, then there's no need to worry," Feng Zhu heaved a sigh of relief. However, he couldn't relax. He only felt more and more depressed. Yi Fan's expression was also ugly. What's going on? How could an 8th grade soul-breaking and soul-splitting Gu die here for no reason? Other than a martial sovereign of the 9 heavens, who else can kill an 8th rank demonic beast? Could it be that a martial sovereign has descended upon the demon land? Feng Zhu asked in shock. "Don't make wild guesses, in case you add some unnecessary trouble to yourself." Yunxiao flew up first and said, "Just take a look and you'll know. There's only the aura of the soul-splitting type spinal bone and the will of death left here, nothing else. He should be far away by now." He flew down from a distance, and the entire appearance of the broken soul-splitting bone appeared in front of him. That strange expression made his heart jump, and it gave him a creepy feeling. The people from the Temple of Holy Fire also came down one after another, surrounding the dead soul-splitting Kuin and investigating it. "There's only one wound on his body." The jar pointed at the broken soul bone and said, "Look, the wound here isn't that big, it's definitely not fatal. Look at his face, he seems to be in great pain. His facial features are all wrinkled together, as if he has been in pain for a long time. My body is all soft and it's sticking to my bones. Could he have been killed by sound waves?" Feng Zhu was shocked. Yunxiao said, "Impossible, a sound wave that can kill a soul-splitting engine, even if it's hundreds of miles away, we can at least sense it." His eyes grew sharper and sharper. Pointing at the only wound, he said, "And why did the murderer make such a hole?" His sharp eyes focused, as if he wanted to see through the entire internal situation of this soul-splitting Kuin. He gritted his teeth and said, "If I'm not wrong, the blood in this soul-splitting Kuin's body has already been completely drained." All the blood was drawn? Tao Ken was startled. Then, as if he had suddenly thought of something, he closed his 5 fingers together and used his palm as a blade to cut down. Even with his strength as a 7 stars martial emperor, he could only make a small cut on the body of the soul-splitting Kuin with his full strength. The flesh of the wound was turned out, revealing a snow-white area. As expected, there was no blood. Everyone all sucked in a breath of cold air, incomparably shocked. Yi Fan's face turned pale, he said, "Could it be the people from the skeleton mercenaries?" He thought of the man from the Red Dragon Mansion who had mentioned taking blood. No wonder the appearance of this soul-splitting Kuin's death was so strange. It gave me a strange feeling. Qi Guang also felt a lingering fear. When he thought about how such a powerful existence had died in such a freakish way, he felt a sense of sympathy. "It's the skeleton mercenaries," Yunxiao said seriously. "There's no doubt about it. But I don't know how they did it. They didn't leave any traces of fighting, they took the blood of the soul-breaking bones and died. Even an ordinary martial supreme would not be able to do that, right? Could it be that a peak martial emperor is here?" Thinking of Mr. Yu's identity, he immediately guessed this possibility. If the top experts of the monster race came out of the illusory realm of stars and moon, they could still do it. Peak Martial Emperor Bian. Everyone fell silent. If there really was such an existence, then their operation this time would be meaningless. There would be no chance even if they continued to chase. Opportunities were important, but in the face of absolute combat power, everything was in vain. Yunxiao's face was also extremely unsightly. If a peak martial emperor were to make a move, he would not be confident even if he had the Divine Realm tablet. And from the looks of it, this possibility was extremely high. The skeleton mercenary group had Tang Jia in their hands. It was very likely that they already knew about the appearance of the Sacred Fire Hall and were looking for Noah's ship. Even if there was only a 10% chance that the Yin Qi and the Yang Qi would appear at the same time, there would still be peak martial supremes who would be willing to help. Peak of Martial Supreme? Yi Fan's face turned pale. He gritted his teeth and said, although the realm of heavenly martial arts is vast and endless with countless martial sovereigns, there are only a few people who can be called at the peak. Who could it be? Could it be the 10 great martial sovereigns? Feng Zhu asked in a deep voice. Everyone's faces turned pale. The 10 martial sovereigns not only represented the peak of the heavenly martial realm's strength, but their names were also like shining stars, shaking people's hearts. Yunxiao shook his head. Not necessarily. The so-called 10 martial sovereigns are just people who fought their way to the top of the heaven and earth power ranking list in the Holy Region. For example, the sect masters of the 7 superpowers. Each of them is as powerful as one of the 10 martial sovereigns. However, with their status, they would not be able to lower their pride and participate in the ranking battle. He seemed to have thought of something and smiled. With these people's status, if they can get a good ranking, they will naturally have unlimited glory. But if they lose their ranking, they can't afford to lose. So, it's very likely that they're from the 7 superpowers, asked Tranche. Could it be that the Soul Devourer clan and Myriad Stars Valley are in the western region? Yunxiao said, don't make wild guesses. Other than the 10 great martial emperors and the 7 superpowers, there were still many peerless experts. The overlords of the 4 seas, the illusionary land of stars and moon, and some of the forbidden lands all had peak strength. But no matter who comes to the demon land, we won't change our original intention and will continue to move forward, right? Yi Fan's body shook, his blood started to boil. He said firmly, not bad. My temple of holy fire has been silent for many years. Generations of ancestors have passed away in regret while searching for Noah's ship. My father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and my generation finally sensed its existence. No matter what's in my way, I have to keep going forward. Compared to searching for Noah's ship, death is actually a trivial matter. I'm willing to follow the young master and revive the glory of the sacred fire hall. Everyone in the hall of holy fire had a serious look on their faces as they shouted in unison. Their blood was boiling. Rather than dying in the valley silently for the rest of his life, it was better to pursue his dream. Even if there was only one chance, even if he had to fight until the last drop of his blood, he would have no regrets. Yi Fan's firm gaze turned towards the front, his fists were clenched so tightly that the bones cracked. He said fiercely, if that's the case, then let's risk our lives for once. The glory left behind by our ancestors must be reignited in my hands.